It's now my pleasure to welcome our speaker for this evening, Jen Rosson.
Thank you, Norma. Today's inspirational reading is an excerpt from Carolyn Myss's 2020 book titled Intimate Conversations with the Divine. A prolific author and teacher, she published this book while we were all in the throes of a global pandemic. And she wrote 100 prayers on various subjects, including the guidance and grace they each offer. Prayer number 38 is titled The Way of the Tao. And here are her words of guidance and grace about the idea of balance. We cannot have light without darkness, or joy without sadness, or angels without demons. We cannot have only one side of life, no matter how much we wish it were so. We do not have the power to challenge the design of nature, though I have listened to people declare otherwise. They are the most frightened of all of us and generally have the most to lose in life. And so they cling to the illusion that they only have to decide that darkness does not exist, and thus it is so. What then should they tell the night? To just go away? We need the night. We need to withdraw into ourselves, into our unconscious, the unknown dimension of ourselves. We need our dreams and we need contact with the invisible realms. We are creatures of the celestial world, temporarily visiting the mortal plane. We forget that truth only during daylight hours. We are creatures governed by the law of balance. The grace of balance is inherent in that law. We can sense this grace coming into us when we explode in anger or stay for too long in that angry place, or when we dwell in high states of imagination without uniting our visions with grounded choices that activate the process of creation. Without the groundedness, we remain high on ideas that go nowhere. The grace of balance is unmistakable. Like a long, deep breath, it breaks through the grip of anger and fantasy-sized illusion, like snapping you out of a spell you've been under. The grace of balance returns you to your center point, as if to say, get a grip on yourself, try again, think clearly. How often, after an encounter with this grace, do we hear ourselves say, what the heck was I thinking? Well, good afternoon or evening, wherever you may be, all of our different time zones and locations that all seem to melt away when we join here together, right? All of us coming together on Sundays. It's good to see everyone. Last weekend, I had the opportunity to enjoy a concert by a young man named Nick Garrett Powell at a local venue. He is an accomplished musician and singer and is truly a modern day one-man band. He plays an acoustic electric guitar and along with the many effects pedals that were attached to his guitar, he also had what is called a looper incorporated into his sound system. What is a looper, you may ask? Well, I'm going to tell you. Its fundamental function is to act as a live digital recorder. In the hands of a master like Nick, it expands the horizons of what one individual can accomplish dramatically. He played and sang all kinds of music, everything from jazz to blues, Soundgarden to Nirvana, Santana and Hendrix, even Spanish folk music for 3 straight hours. Phenomenal. His process varies depending on the song, but basically this is what it involves. Nick would play, say, 16 bars of the song on his guitar, the rhythm part, the strumming part, right? Then he loops or plays that track back and then records 16 bars at the bass line on top. Then he loops it again and beats out a drum line on the body of his guitar, recording that on top of the previous two parts. The result is basically a three-piece backing band that he can then sing and play lead guitar with, all in perfect balance and harmony. So as I sat there, I was transfixed not only by the level of Nick's musicianship, but also wondering how long it had taken him to accomplish this seamlessness and mastery of his craft. And it made me think about the idea of balance and harmony and their partnership in all the things we encounter on this earthly journey. The whole human experience involves trying to harmoniously balance all of our thoughts and actions. But how often do we consciously think about that, like Nick has to with his music? The day-to-day rat race that we all live in has a way of consuming all of our attention and focus. Some days it's work problems, other days it's family drama, and countless other items that clutter our mental and physical agenda. Not to minimize any of these issues, but when we start stacking one on top of another on top of another, you can see how harmony and balance end up getting tossed to the wayside. These moments in time may be the source and best definition of the word frazzle. At least I think that's the best way for me to describe the state of my own emotional framework when I find myself realizing that I am overloaded. I'm frazzled. If these episodes are short-term in nature, then balance can be returned to center relatively quickly. However, if this frazzality, if you will, is allowed to gain a footing, it evolves and it germinates into an all-encompassing giant ball that feels like the weight of the world. And we can find ourselves in trouble. Anxiety and depression are common results, and they can stealthily descend into even worse problems. Carolyn Myss asks in her prayer for a celestial holy breeze to help us navigate the currents of the storm and restore balance. But what would a celestial holy breeze look like? The World Journal of Clinical Cases released a paper in 2021 titled Spirituality, Religiousness, and Mental Health, a review of the current scientific evidence. Within this paper, the authors stipulated that religion, quote, involves beliefs, practices, and rituals related to the transcendent, while spirituality, being a broader concept, includes, quote, the personal quest for understanding answers to ultimate questions about life, life meaning, and relationship with the sacred or transcendent. The authors conclude that a person could be very spiritual in nature, but not necessarily religious. That's probably a good assessment of many of the spiritual seekers that we all know, including many of us here. The main focus of this paper was the relationship between spirituality or religiousness and mental and physical health. Their conclusions would probably not surprise any of us. Mental and physical health both improve with positive spiritual interactions. And on the flip side, there can be negative effects if toxic religiosity enters the frame. Religion is a group dynamic created by humans, driven by a governing body. Spirituality is inherently individual. inwardly reflective, and outwardly inclusive of all of the expressions of our divine source. So where do you think that we will find that celestial holy breeze that Carolyn Myss talks about? We have to look within to find the answers that will balance the chaos outside. Mindfulness is probably a good first step, being present in the moment, consciously taking inventory of our thoughts and emotions. Are we acting with intention, or are we reacting out of fear or anger? Taking just a moment for a pause to tally where we were at on the scale. Are we in balance, or are we at a personal tipping? And if so, how did we get there? Practicing this kind of emotional awareness is vital to achieving balance and harmony in all the phases of our life. Our spirituality has to be nurtured. It doesn't grow independently, all on its own. Engaging with like-minded seekers, participating in activities that promote spiritual growth, such as education or acts of service, and committing to regular spiritual practices all help us evolve and maintain that balance and harmony that brings calm and peace to our souls. Speaking of spiritual practices, prayer and meditation are two of the most important things any of us can do to alleviate imbalance. Prayer is our opportunity to address the divine. It may be the one time when we feel secure enough to express our true inner feelings, perhaps admitting a failure or a fear we could never speak openly about. This is the time we can question everything and everyone without any retribution or judgment. It also helps us focus on what is truly important. 19th century philosopher Soren Kierkegaard wrote, "The function of prayer is not to influence God, but rather to change the nature of the one who prays." Minutes and hours spent in prayer are invaluable moments that can lead to amazing awakenings. Meditation, on the other hand, is more an act of receiving, of waiting for that small, quiet voice to speak once we quiet our mind. Within the 6th chapter of the 700-verse Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, it states that when meditation is mastered, the mind is unwavering, like the flame of a candle in a windless place. A regular meditation practice has been shown to lower blood pressure, relieve pain, improve the immune system, increase serotonin production, and many other physical benefits. If it can do all that for our temporary human body, imagine what it does for our eternal spiritual being. We become more grounded, still, peaceful, calm, mindful. And guess what? More balanced and harmonious. How about that? Additionally, the conscious practice of gratitude can be transformative. It has the ability to shift our focus from the negative to the positive, and in doing so, like meditation, has numerous health and well-being benefits. It also encourages patience and humility for ourselves and one another, strengthening our relationships and our happiness, and again, keeping us balanced and living in harmony. The totality of all these things we're talking about is this: living consciously in the moment with mindfulness and gratitude for one another, committing to good spiritual practices like prayer and meditation, leads ultimately to that celestial holy breeze that restores balance and harmony in all of our interactions. This is a spiritual foundation that is sturdy, that can be built on, and that can survive the chaotic madness that this earthly existence throws our way. I'll close today with one of my favorite Maya Angelou quotes. This comes from her book, Celebrations, Rituals of Peace and Prayer, in which she writes, "Let gratitude be the pillow upon which you kneel to say your nightly prayer, and let faith be the bridge you build to overcome evil and welcome good. May the divine source of all guide our journeys forward in balance and harmony, in peace and enlightenment." And I thank you for allowing me to serve Harmony Heart Gathering today.